Little Ross, give it to me one time and make it good, young man.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Cultaholic heavyweight champion of the world! Ross Twitter!
WTF!
I would like to start this video with a message for Chris Jericho and everybody associated with All Elite Wrestling. Here is your $100,000 legitimate All Elite Wrestling World Championship title belt, which was given to me this morning by Tom Campbell, who is sat out there right now, by the way. He is a thief with a track record of being a thief. Now, I doubt Chris Jericho watches Cultaholic, but back in the day, Tom Campbell, who was sat out there, stole the Cultaholic Heavyweight Championship and then blackmailed us into giving him a job which he still holds today. And I walk into the office and he hands me this. Arrest the man. Anyway, I am Ross Twiddell from Cultaholic.com, your reigning and defending Cultaholic Heavyweight Champion. You are a sexual wank pheasant, and welcome to all the WTF moments from last night's SmackDown Live. And this is a night where we learned that the inconclusive footage shown by Roman Reigns on last week's SmackDown Live, which was called inconclusive by everybody who wasn't called Roman Reigns or Daniel Bryan, was all of a sudden conclusive. Something has happened over the past 7 days which us fans haven't been told about, which has led everybody appearing on WWE TV to call Erick Rowan the culprit, and there's no doubt about it, even though the footage we've been shown proves there's a lot of doubt. Now, of course, right at the end of last night's SmackDown Live, Erick Rowan did say it was him, and then we had a sort of weird Daniel Bryan face turn maybe, and Rowan had brand new music and stuff, but all before that we didn't know for sure. But everyone did know for sure who was on the show, and it just turns out that WWE have to have missed out a massive chunk of this story, which was very crucial to the story they were trying to tell. Us fans should not have to fill in the blanks. Anyway, arrest Tom Campbell. And we kick things off with no less than 2 Cultaholic related signs at last night's SmackDown Live, which is always a WTF moment because real life human beings have taken time out of their precious time to make bits of paper in honour of this little rinky-dink company. If that's not WTF moment worthy, I don't know what is. Thank you very much goes to Old Man Ghost and Tron Master 1 for spreading the good name of Cultaholic throughout the WWE Universe. Next time you go to a show, do what they did, please. And I guess this has to be a WTF moment because less than 24 hours after she definitely turned heel and definitely became Sasha Banks' sidekick, even though she stood there on last night's Raw and said, "Nobody's going to overshadow me." Hugs. The same old Bayley appeared on SmackDown Live. The attire, the wacky, trippy, dippy, dicky-doo, inflatable men, the signature pose, everything was the same. But that, boys and girls, is the beauty of it all. WWE are being subtle about it, and let me tell you why. Quite frankly, Bayley is now a delusional idiot, if she wasn't before, but she definitely is now, and she doesn't have a clue about it, and it's a wonderful thing. She was there opening last night SmackDown Live saying that she didn't understand the boos, and she did what she did on this week's Raw because she was there for the person who has always had her back, Sasha Banks. That's despite the fact Bayley and Sasha Banks wanted to kill each other during their time in NXT, and despite the fact Sasha, and I don't know if you've heard about this, has been away from the company for a little while now. Well, until recently, you know what I mean? But that once again proves that Sasha Banks is a master manipulator and Bayley is a delusional idiot. So good. Bayley is completely oblivious about what she did and what it meant and how us fans perceived it, and the moment I fell in love with this brand new Bayley is when she stood there and said, "But think about the kids." Basically, new Bayley is every single bad politician seen ever. Their public persona is all roses and strongbow dark fruits, but they know deep inside they're being a deceptive arsehole, and they are ugly like a Bastion Booger or a me. But that might mean Bayley does know what she's doing and she's not actually the delusional idiot I'm calling her here. Either way though, good character. WWE being subtle about a character and not spelling things out, with the commentators having to say things 100 million times over and over again. That's also WTF moment worthy, so there we are. Sasha Banks on this week's Raw, I do nothing for free. Sasha Banks on this week's SmackDown Live, I do everything I say I don't do for free. For free. For free. No money changed hands whatsoever during last night's SmackDown Live, yet there was Sasha Banks in her gear for some reason. We have to also ask, why was she wearing her gear when, first of all, she's a Raw superstar, and second of all, she had no match booked on last night's SmackDown Live, doing the wrestling with the Charlotte Flair, presumably for free, since it wasn't an official match. I'm rambling. I didn't sleep last night. So according to Greg Hamilton during Elias' entrance, Elias only weighs 217 pounds, and that got me thinking that that man there has to be two-dimensional. How on earth can such a girthy, beefy, muscular, tender slab of meat, oh my god, I love it! Like that, like Elias, weigh only 217 pounds. Basically, Greg, I'm not buying it, as I see black stars now go around my eyes. That Vince thing hurts.
Made a grave mistake, Corey.
So while Elias was waltzing down to the ring in two-dimensional form, Corey Graves was listing off all the kings who are involved in the musical world, because you know Elias is involved in music and he might just become a king. Nat King Cole was mentioned, Elvis Presley was mentioned, late 90s pop sensation Lolly was mentioned, but then Corey put his foot in it because he mentioned Jared Followill from the Kings of Leon. And basically, Corey, up yours, pal, if you actually think about that. 2 fingers, we go left, we go right, we do the prostate exam, because Jared Followill tweeted that a couple of years ago, and that is the moment he died to me. I mean, the music, that's gone downhill, so that didn't help, but that was the moment there. How dare you put that man on such a pedestal, Corey Graves, you heel commentator, who probably should be putting people like that on very high pedestals indeed. And I've just taught myself out of a WTF moment, but still, I don't like Big Jared. Oh, Tommy Tom, there you are again, face fornicating the poo out of a line of commentary on WWE TV when you claimed that Kevin Owens and Elias' King of the Ring spectacular, which was made all the better by Colonel I can't even say his name. Colonel McSweaty Bollocks himself took place last week, even though we all know it took place on the August the 20th episode of SmackDown Live. And I know that Tom corrected himself bare time later, but I had to include this moment in this particular episode of WTF Moments here on the Cultaholic YouTube channel, because yesterday I claimed it was August a lot of times, even though we were 2 full days into September. Don't do drugs, kids. Time stands still. Looks like a frog. Now, I don't know how many weeks I have stood here on these WTF Moments videos and lambasted Aleister Black for sitting in that room there where nobody knows where it is. So how could he expect somebody to pick a fight with him? Finally, after so long, he realised during last night's SmackDown Live, if he took his clothes off and struggled while doing so, if he's made his way down to the ring, stood in the ring, people might realise where he is and actually start to pick fights with him. Idiot. How did it take so long? And next up we have the moment where Samoa Joe reckons that Chad Gable, because he's a very small man, like Dennis Wise, would look ridiculous in the King of the Ring crown and the little cape should Chad Gable win the tournament outright. Joe, man, every single person in that tournament would look ridiculous in that crown, in that cape, should they win the King of the Ring tournament, which is why whoever wins this year's King of the Ring tournament should not actually become a king. Just imagine way back in the day if Stone Cold Steve Austin, after winning the King of the Ring tournament, started dressing up like a king and standing there and saying things like, "I, King Austin the Third of the Third 16th, saideth, I just desecrated your bum bummeth." the Attitude Era wouldn't have happened. Basically, Joe, what I'm saying is here, you cannot pick out Chad Gable for looking like a tit, wearing a crown and a cape, because every single person who has ever dressed up like a king and pretended to be one has looked like a massive arsehole while doing so. So according to the commentary team on last night's SmackDown Live, we can only imagine where Kofi Kingston's mind has been to over the past few weeks as Randy Orton has metaphorically shook his hand with all the cock juice dripping off right into Kofi's son's mouth. It wasn't quite like that, but you know what I mean. Kofi has fallen right into the hands of Randy, apparently, according to the commentators on last night's SmackDown Live. But boys and girls, I am sticking to it. It's actually Randy who has fallen into Kofi's hands. Yes, I know we've seen a few RKOs from Randy over the last few weeks on SmackDown Live, but go back to SummerSlam, watch it again, and tell me that Kofi's son and Kofi himself were not in cahoots, as Kofi got himself disqualified for no good reason whatsoever and ran away with his WWE Championship intact. Kofi's the real heel here, boys and girls. He's been getting his comeuppance as the valiant babyface. Randy Orton fights for something he was screwed out of. Great storytelling, WWE. Michael Cole, Tom Phillips, every single living, breathing WWE commentator alive and breathing the air today. Stop telling us Roman Reigns got to the bottom of who's been attacking him over the past few weeks, when on last week's SmackDown Live you told us he did not do that thing you are now telling us he actually did. Now it's important to note I made this a WTF moment before we were told by Rowan himself that he was the man who did it. At this moment in time, all we had seen about this Roman Reigns situation is what took place as last week's SmackDown Live was going off the air, and that proved nothing, but something has happened over the past 7 days that WWE hasn't told us fans about, which has convinced everybody working for the company that Rowan was the man who did it. Why weren't we shown this thing? That is the big chunk of evidence that has made this story a bit crap now. Now sit down, boys and girls, because what I'm about to tell you might just be a bit too much for your body to take, and you might just faint where you stand, because we now live in a world where Rowan, you know Rowan, Erick Rowan, the silent one from the Wyatt family, the silent one from the Bludgeon Brothers, you know, Harper would slap him in the face, Rowan would go, "Huh," and then he would do the things Luke would tell him to do with his eyes without opening his mouth. It was a weird relationship. Telepathic, kind of. And also Rowan, of course, the silent one from Daniel, Bryan and Rowan. He now has a big singles match on a pay-per-view. Yowie wowie, runny wunny. The end is nigh, the end is nigh, time to run away, the end is nigh, nigh.
Made a grave mistake, Corey.
So before Rowan came out at the end of last night's SmackDown Live, picked up the microphone and said, "I did it for The Rock." But in this case, The Rock is my massive bald tet. We had Corey Graves saying on commentary, with Rowan identified as the culprit, he wasn't, man. Corey, you were part of the commentary team that ended last week's SmackDown Live by saying, well, Roman's no closer to find out who did it. Again, what happened over the past 7 days and why weren't we filled in? Now I've got a message for Renee Michelle right now, and that is, Renee, just shag the man, will you? Look at his poor little face, man. He was the champion for so long, yet there he is, still waiting to consummate his marriage. How long has Drake Maverick been 24/7 champion for? How many days must Renee and Drake have seen each other while Drake has been the champion, yet still, it seems, Renee hasn't shagged him? Just shag him, Renee. This show. What the hell happened to MVP? We all know his theme used to talk about, "I'm coming! Nobody can stop me, nobody can hold me, nobody can drop me," or something like that. But there, it looks like he came, then he came again, then he came again, so much so, it affected his genetic makeup. Now remember how good Leo Rush used to be? He was good, wasn't he? Well, for some reason, WWE saw that Leo Rush and Bobby Lashley act and decided to take the worst thing about that act and stick it on Sami Zayn. Yes, Leo commentated around the ring while Bobby was wrestling and it didn't work, so he stopped. So why are we giving Sami Zayn the same impossible job? It's not going to work. It's not going to work for anybody.
Made a grave mistake, Corey.
Now, just after Drake Maverick recaptured the 24/7 championship, Corey Graves quite brilliantly said, "I'm sure Drake is going to grab his wife and take a limousine to a chain restaurant," which was obviously, it had to have been having a pop at Chris Jericho. If you haven't heard, had his title belt stolen by Tom Campbell, who then presented it to me in the Cultaholic office this morning. But the WTF moment for this point comes from Corey Graves' Twitter game after last night's SmackDown Live, where he tweeted, "Where's it gone? Dear Internet, you'll know when I take a shot. I hate to burst your bubble, but sometimes a friend can make a joke about a friend. You should try it. It's a lot of fun." Yeah. We know it was bants. We didn't take it as a shot. We didn't take it as you not getting along with Chris Jericho, and because of that, you were taking a shot because Chris Jericho lost a $100,000 championship title. Of course, Chris Jericho, a 30-year veteran in the squared circle, should be having the piss taken out of him, Corey. We're all laughing with you, not laughing at your relationship with Chris. I think that's what you're saying. I didn't sleep last night. I don't know what's going on. Nobody tells me what to do, said Rowan of the Wyatt family fame, where he took orders from Bray Wyatt, and of the Bludgeon Brothers fame, where he took orders from Luke Harper's eyes, and of Daniel Bryan and Rowan fame, where he took orders from Daniel Bryan. Rowan, you're a cook, mate. Just face it. I did a long time ago, and it's a liberating feeling when you just accept it and let everything rain down on you, like the cook that you are. And then we have to end with the WTF moment that Rowan got a brand new theme. It was stompy, and it was big, because if you didn't guess, Rowan is quite stompy and quite big himself. But how could anybody know to give Rowan a brand new theme when presumably nobody knew that Rowan was going to go old Jason Derulo at the end of last night's SmackDown Live and shaft Daniel Bryan to one side? This means one thing, boys and girls, that I've said so many times here on WTF Moments over the last few years. Kevin Dunn is a heel aligned with all the heels. Only explanation. And that is it for all the WTF moments from last night's SmackDown Live. I've been Ross Twiddell from Cultaholic.com, and I realise I didn't swing me belt. So here is me belt swing. Seamless as ever. I am not here next week. I'm on my holidays, so there'll be no WTF moments. Fill that void in your life with something else. I'm sure it's a very tiny void, so that won't be hard to do. I'll see you in 2 weeks' time. Thanks for watching. Let us know what you think in the comments below. You can follow us on Twitter at Cultaholic. You can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/Cultaholic. And if you enjoy what we do here at Cultaholic, you can pledge to our Patreon page, patreon.com/Cultaholic. Hit subscribe and join us.